Dr T Morrow by Paul John Lim. It is a wonderful early summer morning in June. Letitia is walking down the mile-long private driveway that leads to Morrow Hall. The birds are singing, and the road noise from the town she's left way behind her. She's thinking to herself, I still can't believe Tom inherited such a grand place. Like a dream come true. He'd never even heard of Theodore Morrow. Tom always felt he was born into the wrong century. He was obsessed with the Victorian and Edwardian period, and of late had even begun to dress in clothes of that period. Mind you, Tom encouraged me to do the same, and I do love the clothes, and the romantic image of that time period. If only he knew what I managed to buy in this carpet bag. I was so lucky to find a young woman's cycling clothes from the late 1800s. I can't wait to show him, it'll be such a surprise. She quickened her pace. The bag was feeling heavy now, and she was getting a little flushed. She was pleased she was only wearing a pair of red leggings, a white t-shirt dress and red trainers. Just in case, she also had a fold-up raincoat in a rucksack on her back. She had managed to track down on the internet a rucksack, one that looked like it could easily be from the 18 or 1900s. She clumsily avoided the potholes here and there as the grass either side of the track was waist-high and still too damp to wade through. Below, the meadow was full of wild flowers. Vetch and red poppies, standing proud, sunning themselves in the warm early morning summer breeze. In other areas, rosebay willow herb and meadow sweet flourished in the damp areas. Scarlet pimpernel, clover, daisies and buttercups edged the track here and there. She now wished she'd told Thomas she was arriving, so he could pick her up. This bag is getting so heavy, but she did so love surprising him. Letitia was due to visit her great-aunt Lily, her last surviving close relative. After her mother had died, her aunt had adopted her when she was very young, and Letitia called her Mum. Aunt Lil had phoned to say that she was very sorry, but she had to go to London and had to cancel. She'd got to go and take care of a friend who'd taken ill suddenly. So Letitia decided to visit Tom earlier than planned instead. She could also give him his birthday present. As she trudged on, she cursed Mr. Beeching and his cuts. The train didn't run to Bishop Somerton anymore. The branch line was closed by Mr. Beeching in the 1960s. If it were, it would only be just over a mile walk from the town railway station. Instead, she had to leave the train 10 miles away, then catch the 6:30 a.m. bus to Bishop Somerton. The old railway station was now a posh restaurant that she'd recently walked past 15 minutes ago in the town. She walked on further and further. Now the track was more downhill, with tall beech trees and a small copse where beneath the canopy's dappled shade bracken and ferns reached for the shafts of hazy light. Next she walked past hedges of mixed species, with wild roses filling the air with the scent, and the odd hawthorn bush adding a heady dusky accent. It was warming up already. Dandelions, some in flower, and some with their seed umbrellas drifting in the slightly stronger breeze near the trees. To her right, between the trees, in the distance, the lake shimmered and gleamed in the sunlight, with kestrels circling in the distance, high in the almost cloudless blue sky. She rounded a bend and left the shade of the trees, and met the full strength of the sun on her face, which was warm despite the early hour. She popped on her sunglasses again. She could now see Morrow Hall in the distance, a grand old country house, rebuilt in the early 18th century. Tom had at first moved into the gardener's cottage, which was in reasonable repair. Later the trust fund was released, and this had paid for a new roof for the hall, and so far just 3 downstairs rooms, the hallway, the study, and the smoking room, doubling as a temporary kitchen with a small 2-ring gas camping stove and a fridge. The conservatory roof adjoining the study was also repaired. He was due a return visit from the planning people, as it was a listed building, but Sidney Cope had repaired similar structures and had complied fully, as far as he could. In his last message, Tom had said he had spent much of the rest of the inheritance on a new project, but he didn't say anything about it. Also, he had enthused about a few period antiques and clothes he had won in a local auction from a property of a similar age. She approached the hall now and walked over the well-worn flagstones to the porch. She then opened the large iron-studded oak door and entered the hallway. The sound of the birds diminished significantly. She looked around. The stairs were now a wonderful dark rich oak in the shadows. The door creaked as she closed it. "Tom, it's Letitia. Tom, can you hear me? It's me, Letty." There was no reply, so she headed for the study. She became aware of the old clock ticking away before she'd even walked in through the open door. Then she saw it sitting high on the mantel-shelf above the huge fireplace. Tom had decorated the room, and it was immaculate. Period wallpaper, sumptuous velvet curtains with gold rope edging. 2 large green tufted armchairs in dark cherry wood sat facing the fireplace, and a huge Georgian desk stood towards the centre of the room. On the left of the room, covering much of the wainscoting, were 3 large diamond-leaded exhibition showcases, full of all manner of brass, iron and wooden items. Numerous objects she had no idea what their use could ever have been, sat on their shelves. On the right side of the room, however, the Persian carpet was rolled back, and a workbench with a small vise, equipment, wires, odd devices, huge files and other pieces of equipment were emitting a barely audible humming sound. A very thick black cable snaked out through the study, through the open door into the conservatory. Tom must have started filling it with plants, which were now treated very poorly, with a strange machine resting over the now empty pond walls. It was red, and looked totally out of place, and out of period. Within it she could see a very old-fashioned looking piece of equipment that glowed and fluxed a greeny-yellow hue. Dimly lit gauges were quivering slightly, and the rest of the machine was like a very posh exercise machine, a mix of new and old, similar to steampunk lamps you saw for sale, made from old car parts in trendy shops. She put down the heavy carpet bag and walked over to the device. Tom always was a bit of a fitness freak. Perhaps he had invented a new exercise bike, wanted it to look steampunk Victoriana-ish, if indeed that word existed. Perhaps that's what his new project is. It does look well cool though, she thought. The red panels covering much of the device were odd to the touch, looking hard, but felt like warm fare to the touch. Below were numerous marked dials, levers and switches. She straddled the seat and held the bar where handlebars should have been with both hands. There were tumblers of brass and a series of numbers selected on them. She pushed one and it jumped with a click to the next marker. She was going to put it back, but her rucksack made it awkward, so she reached to adjust it. As she did, she lost the footing, falling backwards. She reached to catch herself from falling. Her hands first caught a switch, then a lever, and her right foot pressed another lever, and the sound turned from a barely audible humming to a whirring noise, accompanied by a dizzy spinning sensation that made her grab at everything she could. The sound rose quickly in volume, and speeded up with the pitch rising higher and higher. She panicked. She spun dials to make it stop, clicked switches, but to no avail. Now the sensation of movement had made her feel sick. She felt lightheaded. The room was in waves of transparency, flickered strobe light in time with the sounds. Letitia tried hard not to, but felt herself slipping from consciousness. Letitia and the machine were gone. and flashes of static raced round the floor. A slight green glow hung above the space where the machine used to be. In the study the clock began ticking once again, having stopped when the device had left. Thomas was walking at a brisk pace around the lake. At the water's edge, through the drooping branches of the willows, he caught a glimpse of Morrow Hall in the distance. He had been listening to some 70s retro songs, but now selected the latest earworm of a song. It was in the indie charts. It was originally an advert, and it made him feel positive. He needed that so much, and it was a Saturday after all.
Nothing's gonna break me, nothing's going to get me down. I'm way above the stormy clouds, there's blue sky all around. There's nothing anyone can say to me that will bring me down. I can hear them, I can see them, they're way below, down on the ground. Sunshine Saturday, nothing matters day. Self-delusion is coming fine. I can dance in the stars if I choose to end the time. Sunshine Saturday, it's my day. You can all go and jump for what I care. It's my day today. Nothing's going to break me, nothing will get me down. I'm way above the stormy clouds and in the blue sky all around. Nothing anyone can say to me that will bring me down. I can hear them, they're way below me, on the ground.
Thomas returned from his walk around the vast lake and entered the hall. He was dressed in a tweed single-breasted suit with waistcoat. He wore a white winged shirt collar and sporty red and black check bow tie. He could have been a character in a scene on a Victorian postcard. His shoes were low-laced black shoes, partly covered with mud from the walk. He wiped them on the entrance mat, which sat over the wide, resanded and varnished floorboards. He walked down the hall towards the study. He could smell electrical ozone, and so quickened his pace to the conservatory. Before his eyes the room shuddered, the clock stopped, and the sound became deafening and began to slide down in pitch and speed. In waves of partial invisibility, the device flickered into existence. The clock in the study resumed its ticking. That very morning he had set a date on the cylinders to 2 days previously, to try out the machine. He had become anxious and had gone a brisk walk around the lake to calm down and build up his courage. The machine was set to return to this time, today. He stood shocked when he saw the destination dials hanging on a broken filament. The other levers which were needed to stabilise the machine were in a strange position too. Some were bent. It was then that he noticed the carpet bag. He walked over and opened it, to see a lady's outfit from the 1800s neatly folded over shoes, and a small wrap present. It read "Happy Birthday from Letitia," written on a white sticky computer label. "Oh my God, Letty, what have you done? You weren't even supposed to be here. No, no, no!" He wanted to jump on the machine and follow her, but where could she be? The destination dial was broken. The stability dials made no sense, totally uncalibrated. She could literally be anywhere in time and possibly space.